Hello, hello! Welcome back to Brenda's Books. This is Season 2, Episode 17. Thank you so much for coming back to listen to more of Sara's War. Today we are on Chapter 19. That was lucky. Here we go. Jack's soft voice brings me out of my stupor. Have a drink, he says. He hands me a tall glass of ice water. I don't remember Jack leaving my side, but this drink proves he had. I gulp down the cold water to the very last drop. My dry throat soaks up the liquid before it even reaches my stomach. Thank you, I say. Jack stands in front of me now. Do you need another? He asks. Oh no, I'm fine. I blink rapidly to bring some moisture back to my eyes. You won't disappear if I take your glass to the bins to be washed, will you? Jack says. I'll be right here, I say. Jack strides past me. Oh, to be back in the days where we could use disposable plastic for everything. As I wait for Jack's return, I force the muscles in my arms and legs to unlock. He's back in less than a minute, but it's enough time to pull myself together. How about some fresh air? He suggests. He points with his head to the side door where a throng of people are exiting the ballroom. Sure, I agree. Come to think of it, outside does sound like a good idea. I'm probably reeking like a pig at noon. We step outside onto a large patio lined with stone benches. The cool air wisps over my face and through my hair. Ah, so refreshing. The surrounding trees shimmer in the pale moonlight. I inhale deeply, taking in the potent pine aroma. Several people are grouped together and chatting noisily. Some of them I had met briefly earlier this evening. Hi, Sara, one calls. It's the stocky blonde, Sam. Come over here and join us. I look at Jack and motion for him to come with me. His expression gives me no hint of whether he wants to or not, but nonetheless he complies. I notice some of the other men shrink back as the lieutenant colonel approaches the circle. Apparently, I'm not the only one who is intimidated by him. But as usual, Jack seems perfectly at ease. Nice surfing tonight, Jack says to curly-haired Brent. I saw the way you flew across the mob. Didn't that hurt? Brent laughs a high laugh. Nah, you should have seen Piston over here dive, he says, pointing with a long finger to a man across the circle. Nobody caught him. The rest of the group heckles in unison. Piston just shrugs and joins in the laughter. I glance at Jack, impressed he had broken the ice so well. The overt awkwardness rapidly dissipates as the men converse and taunt. The women beside me complain about feet hurting from high heels and necks aching from dancing with men too tall. I half listen to the women and half listen to the men. After a long time of nonsense jeering, Sam suggests we all take a walk to a nearby creek. From what the group says, there's a rather large camping-type area on one side. Apparently, it's a popular spot for off-duty time. But that's still a crazy long walk, one girl complains. So, says Sam, we don't have to be on duty until 0900 hours tomorrow. Let's go. He waves his hand, pivoting in the opposite direction. The group shuffles their feet and slowly follow his lead. We step off the patio onto a wide dirt path lined with thick pine trees. The shadows are so deep the only light we have is the occasional stream of moonshine seeping through the treetops. The men and women automatically group separately, except for two couples who are attached at the hip and paying no attention to the others. The men walk faster, quickly lengthening the gap between the two groups. Instead of keeping up with the men, Jack chooses to stay with me and the other women. Once the ladies realize Jack is hearing their conversation of clothes and nose size, they quicken their steps. As they hurry their pace, Jack and I slow ours. Sorry about that, I mutter to Jack. He raises his eyebrows. Sorry about what? The girl talk. Oh, I wasn't paying attention, he says. I smirk at him, knowing that had to be impossible. Jack looks amused. Really, I didn't hear a word. What were they talking about? I scrutinize his expression, and honestly, I have no idea if he's joking or not. I shake my head and chuckle. Never mind. Jack looks like he's suppressing a smile. So, Sara, Jack begins, but he's interrupted by a shout behind us. We both turn around to see 4 people running in our direction. They race out of the shadows and into the moonlight. I recognize Nate with 3 other girls I don't know. The girls are giggling and panting. "I totally beat you!" one calls out. "No way!" Nate shouts in his rumbling voice. All 4 of them slow their steps once they spot Jack and me watching them. "Oh, hey, Sara," Nate greets me. "Come to Willow Creek with us. Everybody's going." "That's where we're headed," I say. Just then, Nate recognizes Jack. "Oh," he says, his tone full of implications. "I'll see you there then." "See ya," I say with a wave. "Race to the next moonlight," Nate exclaims to the other girls. All 4 sprint into the shadows again. Nate spins around to face us, running backwards. He points one arm in my direction. "You are hot tonight," he calls out. I give him another wave and he turns around to continue his chase. Jack chuckles beside me. "You 2 must have some sort of history." "Yeah," is all I say as I start walking again. Jack matches my pace. "Is the history a secret?" he teases. I grin. "We belonged to the same dance academy in high school," I explain. "He was usually my partner. And boyfriend." "Usually your boyfriend?" Jack says, amused. I laugh. "Yeah," I confess. Jack smiles. A promenade of people pass by us now, but I hardly notice. "Nate mentioned you won a dance scholarship at Brown. Did the 2 of you dance together in college, too?" "Occasionally, but not through the university. Just in city groups." "He dances really well," Jack points out. "Did he win a scholarship also?" "No, I don't know if I should finish. Nate auditioned for the same scholarship as I did, but had been rejected. The judges told him it wasn't because he didn't dance well, but because he was too short, and it would make his competition too stiff. It seemed really unfair, and certainly unkind to say out loud." "No, he chose to do something else," I say. Jack nods. "Is that how your history ended?" he asks. He seems far too interested in this particular story of my life. Isn't it an unwritten rule not to talk about past relationships while on a date? Maybe this isn't a date. "No, I broke it off for other reasons," I explain. I don't want to say too much. Again, it feels unkind. Jack seems to sense I want to close the subject, and there's a moment of silence. "So tell me something, Sara," Jack says, a smile in his voice. I look up to see his amused expression again. I can't help but smile back at him. "What?" I ask with suspicion. "Why did you turn down those 5 guys?" He says it with a straight face, but his eyes look like they're laughing. I look away, knowing I'm turning red. "Weren't you flattered? At least a little bit?" I let out a nervous laugh. "I don't know." "Tell me," he presses. "I want to know how a guy gets to you." He sounds half teasing, half serious, and all I can do is stifle the urge to giggle like a little girl. "You're a little secretive, aren't you?" says Jack. "She absolutely is," says a male voice behind us. We both turn around again to see another group of guys and girls approaching us. "Oh, hey, Randy, what's going on?" I say. "Oh, nothing. We're just on our way to the creek. Why don't you come?" "You too, Colonel," he says, risking a glance at Jack. I see Molly standing behind Randy, scowling at me. "We were headed in that direction," says Jack. "Yes, we'll see you there," I say. "Great," Randy declares. "I'm looking forward to it." I nod and smile back at him. There's a short, awkward pause, and then Randy's group walks briskly past us. Molly lags behind them and looks over her shoulder in my line of sight, and glares at me like I've never seen before. After a long, awkward moment, she faces forward and jogs back to her friends. Jack and I exchange looks of amusement as we start walking again. "I don't think she wants me to go," I whisper. "I think you're right," Jack whispers back. "Maybe we should go somewhere else." I turn to look at his face. He raises his eyebrows. "Do you really want to go to Willow Creek?" I shrug. "Not particularly," I admit. "I don't really care where I am, as long as Jack is with me." "Do you want to go to the docks, see the ocean?" he asks. "I would love to," I declare, "but I don't think we would get back before sunrise." Jack smirks. "I would drive you, of course." "Don't you need permission for that?" Jack stares at me, a small smile on his face. "Oh, that's right. You are the permission." Does that bother you? Jack wonders. Of course not. Why would that bother me? Jack shrugs and motions for us to head into the trees. I follow alongside him, dodging bushes and tree branches along the way. Eventually, we reach an open space with nothing but dry grass for at least a mile. Jack lightly tugs my arm, pulling me in a different direction. Whoa! I step back. I had no idea this massive boulder was here. Because of the darkness, the huge stone had been completely hidden from my view until now. 3 trees could fit in the width of this thing. Well, we had to hide them somewhere, Jack says. Hide what? Jack takes my arm and leads me around the enormous rock to the head of a long line of oversized army trucks. I stop short. Whoa, I exclaim again. How did we get here? We walked, says Jack. Ha ha, I say. Really though, I had no idea this was here. This is where my division keeps our second-hand vehicles. Mine's right here, he says, pointing to the largest Hummer on the end and nudging me to follow him. Well, that was lucky, I declare. What was lucky? He asks as he opens the passenger door for me. I tried to lift my foot up on the outrageously high step to get to my seat. I would have been able to do it just fine if I weren't in a dress. Oh, I'm sorry, says Jack. He puts one arm around my waist and another under my legs and lifts me into the gigantic Hummer. Just like earlier, my breath leaves my lungs and my heart reels. How embarrassing that I had to be lifted into a vehicle. Jack puts his hand on either side of the doorway and leans in toward me a bit. What was lucky? He asks again. Oh, it was lucky that your Hummer was so close when we decided to go to the ocean. Jack's eyes twinkle in the dim moonlight above him, his lips curling up. He looks like he has some inside joke he isn't going to tell me. You're right, he agrees. That was lucky. And that concludes Chapter 19. Jack and Sara finally get to be alone. So exciting! I hope you come back next week for Chapter 20, which is called Lucy. If you want to find out more about Brenda's books, you can visit brendasbooks.net. Until next time, take care.